Came here to say who won it from the jump. We came to get exactly what you want. Came here to say that you don't really want it with us. Yeah, we live, you know. We came here to say that you don't really want it with us. Yeah, the sports show.
Yerrr.
Yerrr.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Yerrr Sports Show, episode 183. I am your host, Big Baby, aka the Wise Brother, aka the Soul R&B. And to my right, we have the voice of a generation, Pete Rosado, aka Big Hefe of We Are Wrestling. What's going on, brother?
Not much. You know, trying to deal with having the smallest amount of hair I've had in the last 20 years. I chopped it all off.
I see. What's going on?
No, you know what it is? So I got this summer job.
Okay.
I'm doing this delivery stuff, and I'm out in the heat every day. And I felt like the hair was just making it hotter than I hate. You know what it is? I hate my hair getting messed up. So when I style my hair, I hate things like getting in and out of a truck or taking my seatbelt out every time it messes up my hair. I can't stand my hair being all types of different ways. So I was like, you know what? I just cut it off, let it grow back over the summer. So when school starts, at least I'll start having my hair back.
I don't know, Pete. You should put on the do-rag, bro, and just come to the wave gang, bro.
Listen, first off, I don't think I'm gonna get waves with this. And then what I don't like is I'm getting this. And I used to get a Caesar back in the day, real easy.
Yeah.
Nice, beautiful, crispy lineup. And as you can see, I'm starting to. This is why I need to keep the hair, because this covers it up. But I'm starting to come in
a bit. I get you.
And I was like, wow, if I actually did a lineup this time, I'd have the actual LeBron hairline.
You would have the LeBron hairline.
So I was like, you know, we're just gonna leave it like this. We're gonna be all right. But see what happens. You know, it's been a while. Like I said, I haven't had hair this short in about 20 years.
Hey, well, welcome to the gang for a little bit. You know, you'll be back to normal in about the next 2 months or so. So
nah, probably a little bit earlier than that. My hair
grows
goes out
earlier than that. Yeah.
Hair grows out pretty quick. I'm pretty good with that. You know, maybe by the time my hair grows back, the Knicks might actually admit that they're not getting Giannis.
Yeah, they won't. They won't. And it wouldn't make sense for them to get Giannis. I've been saying this the whole time. In order for you to get Giannis, you're getting rid of most of your identity as a team, right? And unless you're doing a 1-for-1 trade, Cat for Giannis, which I don't think the Bucks would do, you're really not getting anything. And then with Giannis, you have somebody who now is not a shooter.
But
at least with Cat,
fans, they just want that title.
At least with Cat will spread the floor. He does shoot a little bit too much, but he's a career 40% three-point shooter.
My man thinks he's a point guard.
He does think he's a point guard, but there's not many not many people who can hold him. Being at a footer that can move the way he do. Now, to me, he moves a little like clunky, but
I mean, I don't know. I saw in the playoffs people were holding him.
People were holding him because he wasn't being aggressive from the beginning. And then when he was aggressive from the beginning, he missed, and then he started fouling again.
And he's too soft for me. You know, the fact that he argues every damn call. It's like, yo, my man, it's not that big a deal. Just take the call and keep it moving.
I agree, but but that's the NBA now in general. That's the NBA in general. Everybody want to argue. Everybody want to make a big deal out of something. It is what it is. But NBA and NFL summer has been moving a little bit, especially the NBA. I want to talk about the team that's been doing the most moves right now, and that is the LA Clippers. They got Brook Lopez. Chris Paul returned. They also got Bradley Beal. They also got John Collins in a trade. So with these new additions and them not really losing much outside of Norman Powell, what do you think about this Clippers team moving forward?
You know, it's tough for me with the Clippers because a lot of what they do still revolves around Kawhi Leonard. And, that's the big part for me. It's about the health of Kawhi Leonard. Yes, you got Bradley Beal, but again, that's a health situation. Brook Lopez and Chris Paul at this point in their careers are going to be more your bench guys. Can James Harden continue what he's been doing? Can he be that, number one guy? And now you look at that, you have Bradley Beal coming in. So who's really starting where, right? Are you going to run Chris Paul as your starting point guard with James Harden and Bradley Beal and run a small lineup with Kawhi at the 4? Are you going to run, Harden as your primary point guard or Bradley Beal as your primary point guard with the other one playing the 2 and having Kawhi as your 3? To me, it just it's a lot of very nice pieces and a lot of nice names, but it really does not look like a cohesive team when I look at their roster. And really quickly, if I look at their complete roster now, essentially their depth chart, you're looking at I'll pull that up real quick right here. But it's, to me, again, it's also going to be that depth right now. Right now, it looks like your starting lineup would be Harden, Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard, John Collins, and Zubac, with Paul, Chris Dunn, Batum, and Brook Lopez being on your second unit. But how much time is Kawhi actually going to see on the floor? How effective is Bradley Beal going to be? Is he going to be injured, right? Because now, if Bradley Beal is injured, that means now you shift Chris Paul into that starting point guard spot, and you're moving James Harden probably to your starting 2-guard spot, right? You still do have Bogdan Bogdanovic on your bench, which is great, and still got Chris Dunn, but now your length starts to go a little bit. Kawhi Leonard, how much time is he going to see? Is Derrick Jones Jr. really going to be a good backup 3? Or how much time is Batum going to see on the floor? To me, they're missing that longevity piece right now. You have a lot of stat stuffers. Harden can go for what he can go for. We know that already. We know what Beal can be when he's at his best, which Beal has not been for the last couple of years. Beal, again, was in Phoenix where he was able to be the 3rd option. Okay? He was able to kind of hide behind Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Now he has to be that number, possibly the number 2 option, if you're really thinking about it with the Clippers, because again, how much time does Kawhi Leonard see? Because you're probably looking at, yes, in reality, it's Harden and Kawhi probably as your 1 and your 2, with Bradley Beal as your number 3 scoring option. But we don't know how much time Kawhi is going to see. We don't know how effective Kawhi is going to be. And again, you do want more offensive players for the Clippers to really maximize what Kawhi can do defensively. Because while Kawhi is great offensively, he is a much better, in my opinion, asset to you defensively. And by using him heavily on the offensive end, it really negates how important, how good he can be defensively. So to me, you really want to mitigate or really pull back on what Kawhi has to do offensively so that he could be a better threat defensively. And so, again, how much time is Kawhi going to see on the floor? How important is he going to be to your offensive set? To me, I think they're still missing a couple of pieces. I think, and again, the West is really stacked. When you're really looking at the West, you're looking at OKC is probably going to be right back there. The Rockets have retooled. They're going to be right back there. You're assuming Minnesota is going to be right back in the playoffs again. You're assuming that Dallas is retooling to get into the playoffs. Now a team that was not in the playoffs, they were in the play-in, but not very high in the playoffs, probably trying to get right back in. The Lakers have tooled up well. The Nuggets are always favorable with Jokic there. So, the Warriors are what the Warriors are. Memphis has still gotten better. Sacramento trying to push better. So I don't know. The Clippers were the number 5 seed, tied with the Nuggets and the Lakers. It's just tough for me. It really is, because this team doesn't really jump off the page at me. And again, it's because of Kawhi Leonard. He is a number 1 type player, but that health piece Bradley Beal, again, availability. Those are the things that really worry me about the Clippers' moves.
I agree with you in terms of availability because the Clippers have been FMLA All-Stars. A lot of these players on the Clippers have been FMLA All-Stars. Actually, the person who has played probably the most games in the last 3 or 4 seasons is probably the oldest player on the team, which is Chris Paul. And which is very detrimental during the season, right? Now, I can understand maybe if Norman Powell was still there, you somehow acquired Bradley Beal and without having to give it to Norman Powell. You still had John Collins and everything like that. I can see it's less a worry, but I understand the complete worry about it. But I'm going to go the other way with this. The way the Clippers are set up, you have 5 that can start and 5 on the bench that can start, right? Kawhi Leonard, we know he's not going to play all 82, and I don't expect him to play all 82. And it sucks to say that as an old school NBA thinker, where I want my stars to play 82 without having to think about it, but I don't expect him to play 82. You have Nicholas Batum, who still gives you a certain level of defense and playmaking on that squad. You have Chris Paul, still in his older years, but he's been reliable. He has been able to play. James Harden now has the type of team around him that he likes, where he has the lob threat. He has multiple lob threats, and he can spread the court out, especially when you have a big like Brook Lopez who can stretch the floor out up to 3-point line, and you have ways to play small. You can have a lineup where you have Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, James Harden, Kawhi, and either Zubac or Lopez, or even what's his name? I just said his name, Collins, right? So they're very plentiful when it comes to players that can play multiple positions. It is going to be about health, but when you look at the potential offensive output of this team right here, outside of obviously the champions, the OKC Thunder, is probably one of the scariest teams on paper. And I have to say it again, on paper, because, as you said, injuries seem to loom around the Clippers organization, and it's been doing that from a long time, even from the Lob City days, right? The Clippers could have had a finals appearance some time ago if Chris Paul would stay healthy, if Blake Griffin would have stayed healthy, if most of that team would have stayed healthy and actually stayed together, right? The Clippers could have had finals appearances multiple times if Paul George stays healthy, if Kawhi Leonard stays healthy and actually plays. So with those things being as important as it is, and those things looming around the organization, I still think, and this is not one of those things like, how the Cowboys say, oh, yeah, this is our year. No. Not even saying it like that with the Clippers. I think the Clippers are a really good team, and they will be a team to contend with in the West. They just have to stay healthy, and that's been their biggest Achilles heel. But I do think that on paper, they're probably one of the scariest teams with a starting 5 that can start anywhere and a bench that can start anywhere. We have to also say, you said Bogdanovich, that is one of their secret weapons that nobody's really talking about, because now a lot of the pressure is off him in general in that second unit. With Chris Paul there to get him the ball in spaces where he can score, he's already a good scorer. Chris Paul's going to take a lot of attention off him. Brook Lopez is going to take a lot of attention off him. And, Chris Dunn and him will have opportunities to do what they do. Like, imagine the lineup they can have where the Clippers look kind of like Lob City again, with Collins and Derrick Jones Jr. both having point guards that like to lob the ball up. The Clippers are going to be able to run a lot. But they're now the oldest team in the league. If you take away their two-way contracts, the average age on the team is 33. Chris Paul being the oldest player on the team. With the two-way contracts, 31 year team. The average age of the team is 31. So that goes into it a lot. And you did mention Minnesota getting revved up to go again. OKC, that's not going anywhere anytime soon. The Lakers look to be finally making some momentum when it comes to moves, and we'll talk about them next. And everybody else in the West, the Rockets just got Kevin Durant. The Rockets were already a scary team. They just needed something to put them over the hump, and they got it with the generational piece that Kevin Durant is. So,
and again, you have the Spurs. You have the Spurs who were already looking okay. They dealt with a little bit of turmoil last year. I do worry how much the Chris Paul departure is going to affect them, because that was a very big veteran piece that you had there.
yeah.
But they did get Luke Cornett, I think, which is a great move for the San Antonio Spurs, having a really good backup for Victor Wembanyama now. You got Kelly Olynyk, who I think is very underrated as a quality bench glue piece. Lindy Waters III getting over there. The Kings had a really quiet offseason. They have a really good team, but they had a very quiet offseason. But they did get, I like the move, getting Dennis Schroeder. I
really like that move, getting Dennis Schroeder.
And then getting Drew Eubanks. They were able to retain Doug McDermott on a 1-year deal. So that was great. Obviously Portland bringing back the feel good move of bringing back Damian Lillard.
Absolutely.
And again, he's going to be out all year. So, Portland retooling. But now imagine you got Drew Holiday, you got Damian Lillard on that Trailblazers team for next year. The Suns, you got to wonder how they're going to look, the new look Suns. Now you got Dylan Brooks, right. Jalen Green coming in. Yeah, they lost Tyus Jones. They lost Durant. They lost Beal. But again, now they're able to simplify what they're doing. We know that this team is going to be built around Devin Booker. So now we get pieces that complement him, and allow him to really cook. I really like what the Thunder did. The Thunder really, really solidified that core. SGA 4-year extension, Holmgren a 5-year extension. Both of the Williams brothers, a 5-year and a 3-year extension. That team is not going anywhere. The Timberwolves, obviously, Alexander Walker leaving in free agency to the Hawks is a little questionable. But again, you got Joe Ingles coming back. Randall got locked up. Naj Reid got locked up. Really the biggest team you got to worry about in terms of diminishing returns, in my opinion, is Golden State. They didn't add anybody. They just lost Kevin Looney to the Pelicans.
Which is bigger than what people are making it, because it's like, hello, that was your center. That was your biggest player on the team, actually, if you're going to be for real, because everybody's under 6'9" over there. Well, 6'7"
right.
now.
And then to me, I worry about the loss of Desmond Bane and Luke Kennard for the Grizzlies. Yeah, they got KCP, and they got Ty Jerome, and they got Jaren Jackson on that 5-year extension. But I really like Desmond Bane. I like the defensive tenacity that Desmond Bane brings to that team. So they do have a really good team. Don't get me wrong. If I'm looking at their depth chart here, you got Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., and then you got Zach Edey, right? But to me, like, you have a really big hole at small forward,
right?
And you have a pretty, to me, a hole. I like KCP, but he's not to me a huge 2-guard, right? He's not somebody that scares me as a 2-guard offensively. If I'm a coach, or if I'm the defensive player guarding the 2-guard position, I'm not really scared of KCP.
I don't think he's there to be the scared. I get what you're saying when you say that.
To me, they need more offensive pieces, right? That's the problem that messes with me with the Grizzlies, right?
Yes.
It's Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., and then who?
That's it. And then that's it. Now, like,
because I like Zach Edey, but I don't expect for the boy to really, he's not going to,
Zach Edey is not going to be the next Pau Gasol. I think he's going to be very good. especially the way the game is played now, because there's not many centers the way he plays outside of Joel Embiid and Joker.
And if you remember
But
that last game, game 4 against the Oklahoma City Thunder, he played 33 minutes, had 8 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 blocks. I mean, he's 7'4" and 305 pounds, which is great. He averaged 9 points and 8 rebounds a game last year. And so the question will be, you know, again, he just had left ankle surgery. He's going to be reevaluated in 4 months. So to me, the Grizzlies need a couple more pieces, and the Grizzlies were in 8th place last year.
Yeah, they barely made it, and with the moves they did, it seems like they are going to build their future around the 2 young stars, Ja and Triple J. But I don't think there was anything that they could have done this summer to bolster up their team the way a few of the other teams did. Like, I think they were stuck with what, because there wasn't really a market for anybody outside of Desmond Bane, and then on their team, because Ja Morant, you know, explosive player, really good young player, but now teams are starting to look at the personal side of it. Ja been in trouble twice, in big trouble twice. So you don't want to pick up somebody who has the potential to be in trouble and not play, right? Because then it's a wasted pickup. Jaren Jackson Jr., Defensive Player of the Year, is a really good player, and he deserves the money that he got. Don't get me wrong. The problem is the buck stops with them two, like you said. KCP is a good pickup. It helps them on the defensive side, absolutely. It continues the grit and grind of their team. But when you look at that team, who else is there? It's like a 4-man roster, basically, when you look at it.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the thing. It really is, to me. I think the Grizzlies are probably going to take a step back unless they do something, or they have an idea that I'm not really aware of, or they know something I don't. Maybe they know that Zach Edey is going to be something more than what he is right now.
Right.
You know, obviously, I love the pickup of Cam Johnson by the Denver Nuggets. I think that does a lot to help build out that starting lineup, because now you take a little bit of pressure off of Jamal Murray and a little bit of pressure off of Nikola Jokic to have to be the primary scorers. Aaron Gordon to go back to being a defensive power forward. You know, it's really going to be interesting to see how much Christian Braun evolves as the starting 2 guard.
Right.
Very interesting that Tim Hardaway Jr. right now ranked at 3rd on the depth chart. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. probably going to be a very volume.
I totally forgot about Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, they got right now for the Denver Nuggets. They have him ranked as the 3rd man on the depth chart for the 2 guard and the small forward position, with Bruce Brown being the first guy off the bench at the small forward position, and Julian Strawther being the first guy off the bench for the 2 guard position. But I kind of think Tim Hardaway Jr. probably should take that number 2 spot. And really an underrated pickup, I think, if he stays there with Denver, Jonas Valanciunas backing up Nikola Jokic.
Valanciunas is a big pickup for me.
If he decides to stay, because I know he was a little bit upset with that trade. Obviously, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Lakers come together. Now a full year of Luka. Mm-hmm. You got DeAndre Ayton now at that center position. You know, absolutely. I really like the way that, Rui Hachimura started to grow last season, getting more minutes, getting more time. Austin Reeves is going to be the big one for me, right? How much is Austin Reeves going to really pick up? But what I really like, I don't want to say under, one move that I think was underreported and one move that I don't think was given enough heavy impact, the pickup of Marcus Smart.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Is a big deal. And also, to me, the signing of Jake LaRivia.
Yes. Let's talk about the Lakers real quick. And I'm going to start with the center position with DeAndre Ayton. The DeAndre Ayton signing, to me, is a better signing than it's going to be a better pickup than what everybody's initially thinking. In my head, I'm thinking, and I'm not comparing the two when I say this because people will take it word for word. What I'm saying is like when the Lakers picked up Dwight originally, when Kobe was around and Nash was around, Dwight Howard was putting generational numbers up in the Lakers uniform. The Lakers were just losing, right? I feel like now, since spacing is going to be is a premium for the Lakers now, I think they just. I don't even think Ayton has to average 20 points. It would be beautiful if he did. But 18, 19 points, 12 rebounds, I feel like that's doable. The only problem I see with the Lakers, the biggest problem I see with the Lakers is that same problem I saw with Dallas when Luka was in. Luka holds on to the ball too long. He holds on to the ball until he sees that he doesn't have a shot for himself. It's the James Harden syndrome that Luka goes through because they play the same. They play the same. Are the Lakers going to be fast enough with the pickups they have? Now, Marcus Smart does something that the Lakers really have needed, and that is he boosts their perimeter defense. Because Jared Vanderbilt, you do not know when Jared Vanderbilt is going to be healthy or not. Jared Vanderbilt is one of the best defenders in the league when he is on the floor, but he has not been on the floor. Jackson Hayes has potential to be a pretty decent rim protector. He just has to do it. He just has to do it. I'm not expecting LeBron James to be a world beater on defense. I expect him to continue to play free safety like he's been playing since leaving Miami. Luka is going to have to move his feet on defense. Rui is going to have to show that he can move his feet on defense. You said Austin Reeves. I don't believe Austin Reeves is going to make it a full year as a Laker. He might not make it to training camp as a Laker. I feel like his stock is super high right now, and if Rob Pelinka was smart, you would flip him for whatever you can get for him right now, which would help the Lakers immensely.
I don't know. Listen, I like Austin Reeves there. I think it gives him another option. I like the signing of Jake LaRivia replacing Dorian Finney-Smith. LaRivia was great as a defender. He can guard fours. He can guard power forwards. He can guard small forwards. But he's a great three-point shooter. Right? Last year he shot 42.3% with the Kings. And he shot 45.5% on wide open threes. So now when you have a guy like that who could sit out there on the wing while Luka drives, while LeBron drives and kick out as that defense collapses. And what I like about Ayton is that Ayton is not your typical necessarily have to be inside kind of guy, right? He can get those long rebounds. He can, hit that mid-range jump shot, which I like for a center, right? I like when you're able to expand. I don't want centers out on the wings. Like I don't want the cats. I don't want the centers who want to shoot 12 threes a game, 7 threes a game. Like give me that 15 to 20 foot shot. Open the lane up, especially nowadays where the goal is a lot of guys drive and kick, right? It used to be back in the day, drive, draw the defense to you, drop it down to your big man down low for the easy bang, right? Nowadays, a lot of it is, and it annoys me a lot of time, you see a lot of these guys drive right to the basket, and they have an easy lane to a layup. And I've seen guys drive to the basket and go right past it just to kick out for a corner three that people end up missing. And I'm like, I get it. I get
analytics.
Right. I get the analytics are the 3 is worth more than the 2 and, the volume shooting of the threes. I get it. But there is something that just cannot compute in my brain of giving up a guaranteed 2-point shot, of giving up the layup, of getting to within an inch of the basket and you're right there and you just got to put it up to drive right around and kick it out. But when you got a guy like DeAndre Ayton who can move the defense away from the basket a little bit, that helps, right? And I do agree with you. I do think it's really going to be how much. I call it, I kind of call it the MJ effect, right? But it's, for LeBron, Kobe had it, LeBron has it, MJ had it. I think there are certain veterans that have a certain effect. Like, when you come to this team, this is how we operate. Everybody knows the story that Kobe told of the Olympics, that has been told about Kobe in the Olympics, by LeBron and everybody. Were like, he's out there, and he's like, first play of the game, I know what they running. I'm going right through Powell's chest. And everybody's like, no, that's your teammate. You're not going to do that. And then he goes right through the screen and bursts right through Powell's chest. And Powell says it in his own interview about it. He says, it showed the team that no matter who we're going up against, yes, that's my teammate, yes, that's my brother, I'm here to win, right? And Jordan had that effect with guys who joined the Bulls. If you're not about this life, if you're not about trying to win, if you're not about doing this and doing that, I don't need you here. Kobe had that effect, and I think LeBron has that effect too. And it kind of draws guys to a different mentality. I know this is a very extreme idea, but we saw what it did to Delonte West, right? It pushed Delonte West to like some of the best seasons of his career, being alongside LeBron James and kind of having that leadership thing. But when you have that leadership vortex, when you don't have that leadership, it leads to certain things. And I think LeBron is that anchor for the Los Angeles Lakers that Kobe was at one point. And I think if DeAndre Ayton really buys into the system, DeAndre Ayton could end up having the best year of his career. But it's going to be very interesting to see how the Lakers build, because I think we're starting to look at like the last year or two of LeBron James. Now, I want to quickly ask you this here, because I want to look at two teams.
Okay.
Like, again, I actually really look at these three teams here. The San Antonio Spurs. Right now, De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper with Stephen Castle. I think Castle might start over Harper.
Castle will start over Dylan Harper.
Right now, most charts have Harper starting with Castle coming off the bench. I think it should be the other way around. But you got Fox, Castle, and Harper. You got Vassell and Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes and Jeremy Sochan, and now Victor Wembanyama and Luke Cornett. I really think the Spurs are a scary.
And Kelly Olynyk. Right?
And Kelly Olynyk coming in. I think the Spurs are a scary team. Obviously, we know right now Kyrie is hurt and out for a little while. I think the Dallas Mavericks, talking about a team on paper, I think the Dallas Mavericks are a very scary team on paper, right? D'Angelo Russell right now holding it down until Kyrie comes back. You got Klay Thompson. You got Cooper Flagg. I'm going to be very interested to see how much Cooper Flagg plays and how effective he's going to be. Obviously, you got Anthony Davis, and then you've got Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford at the center position. I think when Kyrie comes back, you could even see a lineup where Russell is still starting at point, and you got Kyrie playing the two, and you have two ball handlers out there with Klay at the three and Cooper coming off the bench, or even Klay spelling, six man for a little while. I think you could have Cooper Flagg even spell Anthony Davis for a little while, since he hasn't playing the power forward position. And lastly, to me, the scariest team on paper is the Sacramento Kings.
That's a very low-key, scary team. The problem that I have with the Sacramento Kings is that 2 and 3 punch of Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. And the reason why I have
Sabonis. I think
the reason why
you got Domantas Sabonis on that team.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Sabonis. Sabonis is going to be Sabonis. I'm not worried about that. The problem with DeRozan and LaVine is the same problem that they have on the Bulls. Who is the alpha? They still do not know who is the alpha, which causes a lot of problems. It's the Boston Celtics all over there too, right? The Boston Celtics. The media says the alpha is Jason Tatum. NBA eyes, fans' eyes, well, realistic fans' eyes sees Jaylen Brown as the alpha. With the Kings, You don't know which one of them is alpha. I just know that Zach LaVine takes a bunch of shots. Like, I just know he takes a bunch of shots. Sabonis is their anchor, right? Sabonis not the best defender, but Sabonis has also beat some of the best centers, has a better record against some of the best centers in the league. So I feel like, as you said, Sabonis is the key to everything working, but they have to figure out who is the alpha and how they're going to split shots. Because the Kings could be a playing team. Don't get me wrong, the Kings could be a playing team. But you mentioned Dallas. Dallas, if completely healthy, that roster looks nasty because outside of losing Luka, if you look at him, they kept Dante Exum, they kept Gafford, they kept Hardy, they kept Lively.
Yep.
Right? They got Caleb Martin.
You got Caleb Martin, you got Cooper Flag, you got Anthony Davis,
you got Dwight Powell, AD.
And now you bring in D'Angelo Russell to hold down the fort until Kyrie comes back.
And Max Christie, who had a breakout season last year after leaving the Lakers, I think that if they are able to put it all together when everybody comes back, that will work. Now, the two guard lineup that you mentioned, D'Lo and Kyrie, one of them has to be a playmaker. It doesn't work because then you'll have a James Harden, Chris Paul in Houston all over again, where both players need the ball in their hands. Somebody's going to have to sacrifice.
Well, I think that's a situation where Kyrie becomes the scorer, right? Because we know how prolific of a scorer Kyrie can be, right? There's no doubt about it. Kyrie is one of the best point guards, yes, of course, but Kyrie is a prolific scorer as well. We have seen Kyrie go off for 40 points before. And I think if you do run a two-guard lineup, I think where you have D'Angelo Russell as the facilitatory point guard and Kyrie as the off guard, because I like Kyrie as my off guard better than I like D'Angelo Russell as my off guard, because I'm more scared of Kyrie as a scorer than I am of D'Angelo Russell.
Absolutely. That's why I worked with Luka and him.
Right. So now if you do this where you now have maybe Klay Thompson as your three, or you have Klay Thompson sitting and you have Cooper Flag out there as your three, or you run a lineup where you have Russell, Kyrie, Klay, and Cooper Flag at the 4 with Anthony Davis taking a rest. I think what's interesting is you can really rotate now. Klay does not have to play all the time because you can have Cooper Flag play small forward and play a big lineup, right, with AD out there and Lively and Gafford, right? You can play a small lineup by bringing Klay in at the 3. You could have Cooper, or you could have AD at your 4, and then you could have somebody at your 5, whether that's AD. I think what I like about the Dallas Mavericks lineup is the diversity of it, because if I'm really looking again at this lineup, right now they have Klay Thompson as the starting 2 guard. To me, Klay Thompson is a much better position at small forward.
As in his later years, yes, because the small forward position isn't what it was when you had a bunch of monsters at the small forward. Not saying there isn't any, but you're not going to go against a LeBron every night. You're not going to go against KD. You'll go against LeBron and KD the most, right? But LeBron is playing the 4 at most points, and LeBron is anywhere on the floor, right? They'll switch AD on LeBron probably, right? You don't got to worry about that. Kevin Durant, you're not guarding Kevin Durant. You don't got to worry about it. I think him at the 3 is more of a spacing thing. But go ahead.
And I think again, it reminds me a lot of old man Richard Jefferson, right? You can put him at the listen, when Richard Jefferson was a young man for the Nets, played at the small forward position, he was a dynamic player. But as he got older, he started becoming more of a shooter. He started becoming more of a facilitator at that 3 position with the ability to still score with a very good jump shot. That's what I really loved about Richard Jefferson. As he got older, his jump shot became better. And if there's one thing we know about Klay is going to be effective as a jump shooter, right? So now, if you have a lineup where you have D'Angelo Russell and Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson as your three, who are you paying attention to? I'm paying attention to D'Angelo Russell. I'm paying attention to Kyrie Irving. Hell, if you got Anthony Davis on the floor, I'm paying attention to Anthony Davis. Klay becomes like that spy now, where Klay can just run around and get an open three and get some easy shots. And by the way, if you get the ball and they swarm you defensively, you can now kick out to multiple scoring options on that floor. Now, if you got Cooper Flagg playing the 4 with Klay at the 3, now you have options at the 5. You can put Anthony Davis at the 5. You got Gafford you can put at the 5. You got Lively you can put at the 5. Let's say Cooper Flagg is having a tough game. You don't want him playing today, or you want to sit him down for a couple of minutes because he's getting beat up for a minute. Guess what? Again, you can rotate. Klay Thompson can play the 3. You can have Anthony Davis out there. You can have Gafford out there, because right now Cooper Flagg is their 4. I mean, is there 3 with Klay as their 2? But if you have Klay at the 3, because now you have flexibility at the 1 and the 2, and then you have Dante Exum, you have Max Christie, you have Caleb Martin, you have players. I love the diversity and the pick and play of their roster. If I'm looking at the West right now, okay, I think obviously OKC, Houston, the Lakers, I think they stay where they are. I see Minnesota taking a step forward. Golden State, it's going to be very interesting to see what they get a full year out of Jimmy Butler, right? How that team looks.
1 second, right? If you're the Lakers and they say Austin Reeves for Dante DiVincenzo, would you do it for the Lakers? One for one, obviously maybe second round involved, but I'm not talking about that. One for one. One for one. If you are the Los Angeles Lakers, it's his offer to you because Dante DiVincenzo wants a bigger role, right? I feel like if he was on the Lakers, he would be on the floor. He'd end up being on the floor more because of his two-way ability and his ability to create his own shot.
My question is what is his role really going to be, right? Because here's the thing. What I loved about Dante DiVincenzo with the Knicks was he had the ball in his hands a lot, and he scored a lot. And what did I say? When DiVincenzo goes to a team who is going to look at him primarily as a spot-up 3 guy.
Spot-up shooter, yep.
His numbers tend to dip, and he doesn't look as prolific as he was with the ball in his hands. If I'm looking at that Lakers lineup right now, you got Luka, you've got LeBron, you've got DeAndre Ayton, all guys who are going to want to score. So I feel like Dante being there, he's going to become just another spot-up 3 guy, which, again, if we're talking the coach of the Lakers, JJ Redick, I'm fine with that. If we're talking about guys like old man Peja Stojakovic, if we're talking about guys like Hedo Turkoglu, if we're talking about guys who just have the ability to sit there, pop, give me the shot. If you're talking about guys like Robert Horry, just pop and give me the shot, yes. I feel like DiVincenzo needs more motion in the offense. He needs to be more of a guy that's played with in that offense rather than somebody who's just rotated through. In that case, that's why I think Austin Reeves fits, because Austin Reeves does not need to be a prolific scorer. Austin Reeves can be a guy that can actually eat off of the scraps. I think DiVincenzo suffers when he eats off the scraps. That's why, for example, when we look at the Knicks, it's tough when you have all the different types of players that you have, because you've got Mikal Bridges, who needs to eat a hearty meal. You got Jalen Brunson, who needs to eat a hearty meal. You got Karl Anthony Towns, who needs to eat a hearty meal. At the end of the day, you start not having enough food for everybody, right? I think Miles McBride. I think Deuce McBride would fit that role, because I think Deuce has learned.
No, the Knicks not going to do that.
Right. What I'm saying is those are the type of guys we're talking about. I think in that case, and that's why I think, again, that Jake LaRiva signing is really the one That's the guy who was going. That's what Dorian Finney-Smith was doing. Hey, give me the open shot. Give me the spot. I'm going to make the shot.
Do you think that it would be different though on the Lakers because you have two playmakers versus the Timberwolves who have two shoot-first players on their team? Because even though Luka's holding on to the ball a bunch and LeBron is basically 1 through 5, both of them are actively looking for their players, right? Versus Anthony Edwards, who is looking for his own shot, and what's his name? Julius Randle looking for his own shot. You have Mike Conley as a point guard. No offense to Mike Conley, but in his older age, I'm sure the coaching staff is saying, Julius will figure it out after. Because Dante DiVincenzo, I would think, would have fit well there, but also knowing the type of players that are over there, like if he stayed with the Knicks, right? Because I also think the Knicks need a playmaker. When we speak about the East shortly, I'm going to talk about that. If he would have stayed with the Knicks, he would have at least had, he'd been in the offense. There would have been a scheme for him in the offense because of what he's done, right? And then that probably would have misplaced somebody else, but that's something you can fix. Again, he's a two-way player. He does it on both ends of the floor. I'm not saying he's the best defender, but he knows how to stay in front of his man, right? Again, if he goes to someplace like the Lakers, I feel like his world is opening up a bit, honestly.
My problem with that is I actually think he does a lot better in that Minnesota system because he can spell Anthony Edwards when Anthony Edwards sits. Because, again, you have Jaden McDaniels, you have Julius Randle, you have Rudy Gobert, you have Naz Reid who can come in and play. But really, if you get rid of Dante DiVincenzo, who's the offense on the second unit outside of Naz Reid? Rob Dillingham?
They don't give Rob Dillingham enough time for him to be the offensive number 2. Offensive player on the bench.
I think the interesting thing about it is I think Dante DiVincenzo works for Minnesota because he's the offensive firepower in the second unit when Anthony Edwards has to sit. Now, you know who I think would actually be somebody that would be good for the Lakers in that kind of position? What if I told you there's a guy, I don't know if he's necessarily available, but that he shot 44% in catch and shoot threes last year, and 86% of his shots were 3-point attempts. Grayson Allen.
That would be really good for the Lakers.
What if I told you a guy like Nickeil Alexander-Walker is somebody you should have picked up, who 44% from 3-point last year, catch and shoot. A guy like Taurean Prince, a guy like Norman Powell. Those are the guys that I think if you told me, hey, let's get them to the Lakers to take the spot of an Austin Reeves, then I think we're talking, because now or even guys like Luke Kennard. Right.
Also, Norman Powell have outplayed his contract this last year. So yeah, I get it.
Right. Those are the kind of guys who I think, when we're talking about those kinds of positions, are the ones that we're looking at. Hell, even a guy like, I mean, obviously we're talking about a bit of a different position here, but a guy like a Duncan Robinson.
It's almost the same position. It's 2 or 3.
These are the type of guys that can eat on the scraps, right? The problem with a lot of the teams nowadays is they're getting guys who need to have a full plate of food in front of them in order to eat, and eventually you run out of food. And what happens is you're going to have to take food off of somebody's plate in order to give it to somebody else. And that's when things get a little difficult, because all of a sudden you start to wonder, look at what happened with the Knicks. Everybody's talking about, Mikal Bridges had a bad year. Mikal Bridges is not used to being the third option on his own team. And again, you talk about those guys, you think about like those transitions for guys, right? We talk about this in baseball. When you go from transitioning to being an everyday player to being a rotational player, or when you were a guy like a Giancarlo Stanton, who went from being a guy who played the outfield, there's that sense of like you're in the game, if you're just DHing and you're just sitting there and you get an at bat once every 2-3 innings, you're not able to build that rhythm. And I think with a lot of these guys who are getting on these quote unquote super teams, right, they're used to being the rhythm guy, the number 1 or number 2 option. They're not used to being the number 3, number 4 option and having to eat off of whatever's left. And that's what you have with a guy like Mikal Bridges, who had great years with the Nets as the number 1 option, great years with Phoenix as the number 1, sometimes number 2 option.
Number 2 option, yep.
Now you're coming in and it's like, hey, you're number 3.
Number 4.
Maybe sometimes number 4. So you're going to have to, hey, you're not going to get 20, 25 shot attempts a game. You're maybe going to get 12 to 15. You got to make the best out of what you got. And now it's just like, wait a minute. What looked good with 20 to 25 shot attempts, because I'm able to get into that rhythm and cook, is not going to look good because it's like, Melo talked about this in his later years. It was hard for him to transition to being a part-time player offensively, even though he was on the floor full time, a part-time offensive option when his entire game was built on getting that rhythm.
Yep, I agree with you. And as you talked about the Knicks, I feel like their biggest need, they keep saying Giannis, and we mentioned this earlier, I feel like their biggest need is a playmaker to sometimes, and I say sometimes, I'm a Jalen Brunson fan, but the era of the playmaking point guard is no longer upon us. But I feel like the Knicks need a playmaker to get the pieces involved. And I feel like in order for them to get a playmaker, they're going to have to get up off either OG or Mikal Bridges. And if I had to choose, not being a Knicks fan, just looking at it, Mikal would give you, OG and Mikal Bridges will give you plenty of value to somebody else's team. I do feel like you trade Mikal now while his value is still high.
Yeah.
I feel like you trade him while he's high and find a way to get a playmaker. Now, what is being said in the grapevines is that the Knicks are looking for Ben Simmons. Now, before people lose their fucking mind about it, let's say this. We saw Ben Simmons play his limited time with the Clippers. If Ben Simmons could do that same thing, give you 7, 8, and 7, and he'll have games where obviously be more than that, but 7, 8, and 7 to kind of facilitate the offense when Brunson is not in the game, or even when Brunson is in the game, to get him going off screens and off ball. I feel like that is a good pickup for the Knicks. And I'm not trolling. People will think I'm trolling. I'm looking at it from a pure basketball standpoint, not a trolling thing. I feel like if my team Miami, would get another playmaker, we would be okay. We would be okay. If I'm Miami, I would take Ben Simmons right now. We need a playmaker. What do you feel about the Knicks? What should they do anything this offseason outside of probably should not have fired Tom Thibodeau, but Mike Brown, I think, is a good pickup too, by the way.
Listen, again, I think the big thing that has always bothered me about the Knicks is I don't like the depth. I hate the depth even more this year. I don't like Josh Hart starting on that team. I really do not. I think Josh Hart's great coming off the bench. Right now, you got Brunson, Bridges, Hart, OG, and Cat as your starting lineup. Great starting lineup on paper. But once those guys sit down, it's Deuce McBride, Jordan Clarkson, Pacome Diadet,
Clarkson was a good pickup.
Who?
Clarkson was a good pickup.
Yeah, then you got Gershon and Mitchell Robinson. But, to me, it's just like I'm not scared by their second unit. I'm not scared by anybody that's coming off the bench for them. And that to me is the big problem because you're going to run these guys into the ground. I do think they needed some ancillary pieces, which was the big thing. Now, here's the thing. Obviously, the Boston Celtics are going to take a step back. I think the Atlanta Hawks are going to take a step back. So
I think they're going to take a step forward.
I don't know. The Atlanta Hawks, in my opinion, they lost a lot of pieces this year. Listen, Atlanta, they lost Capella, they lost Caris LeVert, they lost Terrence Mann, they lost Larry Nance Jr., they lost George Niang. And you picked up Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Kennard, and Nickel Alexander-Walker. I'm not exactly sold on them. We obviously know, and a lot of people are talking about how the Celtics might take a step back. Celtics might still be there. I know I said it, but I think the Celtics are still going to be in the playoffs next year because, again, they still do have Jaylen Brown.
Yep.
You still have Jaylen Brown, and now you have George Niang and Anthony Simons, who I think is going to look very, very good in Boston.
Simons is a really good pickup at that guard position. I feel like it gives them the scoring punch at the guard position that will help Jaylen Brown while Tatum is out.
Yeah, I think, the Cavs are still going to be very good this year. I like
Lonzo Ball was good, man.
Right, and now giving him a chance to come off the bench. I think the Magic are going to be really, really good this year.
Yep.
I really liked the pickup of why am I forgetting his name? I was just
getting Larry Nance Jr. is also really good too.
But when I'm thinking of getting Tyus Jones, that's what I was thinking about. Getting Tyus Jones for the Magic, I think is going to be the real big playmaker there because now you get a point guard who can distribute the ball. And that opens up a lot of scoring for Franz Wagner, for Paolo Banchero, for Desmond Bane. I really think it's going to be – and listen, Tyus can put the ball in the basket when he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the Philadelphia 76ers, they still have Paul George. They still have –
Paul George hurt.
Right, but you still got Paul George. You still got Joel Embiid. You still
Do you really have Joel Embiid? Do we really have Joel Embiid? Just like we really have Paul George? I don't know, man. No.
It's there's players that are still there. I think that's the interesting thing. When I look at the East, I don't really see a lot of, the Wizards got a lot of people, but I don't really know if that's really going to do a lot.
Right, that's just a graveyard. You're just throwing people over there.
Right, but when I'm looking at these teams right now, look, last year,
I like the Bucks.
Listen, the Cavs were 1, the Celtics were 2, Knicks were 3, Pacers are 4. Obviously, the Pacers losing Miles Turner. We're going to see what they're going to do.
Right, and not having Tyrese for the year, too.
Right. So you might see them take a step back in terms of that. It's going to be very interesting to see what Milwaukee's going to do now with Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent, Kuzma, Giannis. I really did like the addition of Kuzma to the Bucks. A full year.
I like Cole Anthony too. Anthony coming and Miles Turner.
Miles Turner means you have less defensive responsibility that Giannis has to have for himself, opening him up offensively. Right.
To be fair, Brook Lopez was damn near almost close to leading the league in blocks over there in rim protection while he was over there. I do think Miles Turner also does a lot of the things that Giannis does on defense. He's a lot more mobile than Brook Lopez is too.
Yeah, so I think you're gonna have. It's very interesting because I don't see a lot of movement in this Eastern Conference. Yeah, you might see Indiana drop from being like a 4 seed to maybe being a play-in team, right? But I don't see Cleveland going anywhere. I see Boston probably staying in the top 6, right? Because again, let's just be very honest here. Yes, Boston lost Jason Tatum, but You got Derek White, you got Jaylen Brown, and you got Arfany Simons. I think they're going to re-sign Al Horford. Because right now, their problem is their big men. You got George Niang starting power forward. And right now, your starting center for the Boston Celtics is Neemias Queta. Right? So, yeah, I can see them taking a step back, but I still see them being in the playoffs. I don't really see much movement there. I think Milwaukee's still going to be good. I think Detroit's going to be good. I think Orlando's going to be even better than they were. Do I really see any movement out of the Toronto Raptors? No. Could the Brooklyn Nets be better? Yes. Can Philly be better? Yes. Do I see anything happening out of Charlotte or out of Washington? No. So I think the thing with the Knicks is, yes, they need to make moves. But I think what's interesting is I think they know they don't have to right now.
Exactly.
Because there's not really a lot that's going to change with the Eastern Conference. I think the teams that are there are the teams that are there. I think right now you take a moment, you just build with what you got, again, and you see where you're going. Because if you look at, if I'm looking at who's going to be a free agent next year, okay, if I'm really looking at this right now, and I'm going to take LeBron off the list, I'm taking Durant off the list because he is on, technically of an unrestricted free agent next year.
Okay. Trae Young.
Well, Trae Young's got a player option.
Yep. So we count them player options for sure.
Right. James Harden's got a player option. Luka's got a player option. Zach LaVine's got a player option. I don't really see them going anywhere. De'Aaron Fox is a free agent next year.
He's not going nowhere.
Yeah, but he's a free agent, so he can go anywhere.
He can.
Right.
You're right.
Now the Knicks are really looking towards. Unfortunately, there's a club.
He also asked to go to the Spurs.
Isaiah Hartenstein is a free agent next year, but they've got a club option. I doubt Oklahoma City's getting rid of him. But here are the names that are free agents next year. Mikal Bridges is a free agent, so you can get him off the books. And here's the thing. What if you trade Mikal Bridges during the season because you're going to not sign him anyway? Right.
You're not going to go over that apron, that second apron to sign him. Go ahead and ship him off.
There's not really a lot of top line free agents next year, right? Mm-hmm. And I think obviously LeBron, yes, Durant, yes, but I don't see anything really moving there. But when I'm looking at 2027, Giannis has got that player option. Mm-hmm. Anthony Davis has got a player option. Jokic has got a player option.
It may go into the Lakers. We already know this. It may go to the Lakers. The Lakers get everybody, though.
Donovan Mitchell's got a player option.
Boy, free agency going to be nasty.
Unless they re-sign him to a new deal, Luka's a fully free agent in 2027.
Yeah, he has August 3rd, or August 2nd or 1st, or whatever it is.
Right. So there are some players that are out there. Isaiah Hartenstein's a full free agent in 2 years in 2027, unless Oklahoma City re-signs him to a new deal. Mm-hmm. Right. So
better.
And this is the thing, right? When you're looking at some of these players that are free agents that are coming up, Giannis has a player option in 2027. So what if the Knicks were to put together a package around Mikal Bridges this season to bring Giannis to the Knicks and re-sign him to a long-term deal, essentially creating a team that has Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and Giannis Antetokounmpo?
If the Bucks trade Giannis Antetokounmpo for Mikal Bridges, that city will burn to the ground.
I agree with you, but what if Giannis makes it clear I'm not coming back?
That's the thing, though. Giannis hasn't made it clear. He would have to make it clear sometime in the middle of the season. And if he says he wants to go to New York, McBride probably be in that deal too. McBride probably be in that deal. And a couple draft picks for the future. The Knicks don't know how to draft anyway, so I mean they can send them pieces elsewhere. F them picks, as Matt would say. But like, I get it in theory. That's very wishful thinking. I don't see Giannis coming to New York with Cat without depleting the team. But I do get what you're saying. If you get rid of Mikal Bridges, the world is yours if you're the New York Knicks at that point. If you put Mikal Bridges on the block before the season starts or during the season, you will get a lot of return for him. You probably get some picks that you'll probably have to flip anyway. So, but that all season 2027 is going to be shit.
Well, there's a lot of player options. Obviously, Giannis is a player option. Davis is a player option. Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, Paul George, Donovan Mitchell. They all have player options. Brandon Ingram, Kyrie Irving, Rudy Gobert, Jalen Green, Julius Randle. All these players have player options. They're not unrestricted free agents. Now, the unrestricted free agents that year, Steph Curry, who ain't leaving Golden State.
That man, he'll probably be retired by then.
Jimmy Butler.
He'll probably go back to Miami and retire, bro. Like,
right.
We ain't worried about that.
Kawhi will be an unrestricted free agent. Zach LaVine, Luka, if he's not re-signed, Trae Young, James Harden. Those are your unrestricted free agents in 2027. Again, the player options are there. Now, 2028 is the big one. Joel Embiid player option comes up. Anthony Davis is a fully unrestricted free agent. That's when Giannis is an unrestricted free agent. That's when Jokic is an unrestricted free agent. That's when Donovan Mitchell's contract comes up. Pascal Siakam, Domantas Sabonis contract comes up. Darius Garland, if he's not re-signed by them. Ja Morant, if he's not re-signed by then. That's when those contracts come up fully, is in 2028.
You know what? I'm a curator of chaos. If, let's just say, every NBA player that you mentioned stayed in their respective spots or got traded to wherever and waited to 2028 to just let everybody come off the books, the possibilities would be endless, right? Except the fact that Joker is going to the Lakers with Luka. We already know that's going to happen, right? Everything else, the possibilities are endless. But then you also look at the other side of it at some of these free agents. Anthony Davis will be in his 30s. Kawhi Leonard will be in more into his 30s. Paul George, right? Joel Embiid, right? Like, there's a lot of those players, I don't think they'll command the same salary. And, by that time, the future will be now. By that time. I think the future will be now. And some of those players will be pieces to help a team like Oklahoma City continue to reign supreme, right? Like, we were looking at this year's free agent still left. We still have Russell Westbrook yet to sign with a team.
Yep.
Right?
Westbrook, I think, would be good to come to the Knicks.
No, but a lot of Knicks fans don't want that because, the Lakers have made Russell Westbrook look undesirable. Yes, the Los Angeles Lakers made Russell Westbrook look undesirable.
I think Westbrook coming to the Knicks gives you a very good number 2 option to give Jalen Brunson minutes to rest.
I said this out loud
because
Knicks fans thought I was tripping.
Listen, here's the thing. I think Westbrook coming to the Knicks, even if you want to start Westbrook, think about this. If you start Westbrook, You have Jalen Brunson and Russell Westbrook as your 2 starting guards.
Right.
Mikal Bridges as your 3.
Mm-hmm.
OG Anunoby as your 3.
Right.
Mikal Bridges as your 4. Karl Anthony Towns as your 5.
Right.
Your bench unit now becomes Josh Hart,
Right.
Deuce McBride,
Right.
the guy with the long name that I can't pronounce from Philly,
Yabusele.
that kid, Yabusele, Diadet, and Mitchell Robinson.
Nah.
That becomes your second unit. And I think that second unit, anchored by Robinson, Hart, and Deuce McBride, is a pretty okay second unit.
Don't y'all still got pressure to Chua?
I don't know if they've fully re-signed him. But again, now let's say you decide to have Russell Westbrook coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
You now have Russell Westbrook spelling Jalen Brunson when Brunson has to sit.
Mm-hmm.
And you have an opportunity to run Brunson with some of your second unit guys,
Right.
thereby making your second unit a little bit more dangerous.
A lot more dangerous, to be honest.
Right, because now Brunson plays bulk of the minutes, then he sits, Westbrook goes and plays. Oh, we got some other guys coming out. Mitchell's on the floor, Deuce McBride's on the floor. Oh, we're going to sit Westbrook now. Let's bring out Jalen Brunson now to start getting his rhythm back. But now he's opening up scoring options for Deuce McBride. He's opening up scoring options for Mitchell Robinson. He's doing all of those things. I think having a guy like Russell Westbrook, hell, even having a guy like a D'Angelo Russell would have been great for the Knicks. Having a guy who has starting point guard ability, but is not a necessarily top star player, no disrespect to Russell Westbrook, he's not OKC Russell Westbrook anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's still great, but he's now your secondary option. I think that would have been that's a great look for somebody like the Knicks. Get somebody who can spell Jalen Brunson, and also creates an opportunity where Josh Hart could either start or sit on the bench.
I agree. As you said, to wrap this up, the East, it's not going to be too much movement. I feel like some of the bottom feeder teams are going to take advantage of the fact that the Boston Celtics are not the Boston Celtics. So you'll see some movement, a little bit of movement there. I feel like the Knicks now have a chance to be the second best team in the league. I feel like the Cavaliers will still hold the number 1 spot. And again, everybody says, yeah, the Celtics is the best team in the league. I get it. Record-wise, the Cavs were the best team. So I feel like the Cavs will still hold on to that number 1 spot as the best team in the league. I feel like the Knicks move into number 2. And then 3 through 16 is going to be a dogfight. Detroit has a chance to be in the top 4. Orlando has a chance to be in the top 4 or 5 as well. So I definitely think we will have to see. I can't wait for this NBA season to start. We will get to the NFL next week. I feel like that while training camps are starting, I feel like more news will come out in training camp, especially with teams still getting their rosters together.
Oh, and you mean and players holding out?
Players holding out and all other.
Yo, rookies not liking their contracts is crazy for me right now.
Rookies not liking their contracts. Team and rookies probably saying, you know what, I think I'll go back to college just to potentially get picked by the same team next year. Next week, the NFL conversation will definitely be exciting. But that is all for episode 183 of the Yerrr Sports Show. Follow the Yerrr Sports Show on all social media platforms at the Yerrr Sports Show. Follow this man, Pete Rosado, on most of all social media platforms. Just look up We Are Wrestling. You will find him. Look for me, the Wise Brother, on all social media platforms. And that is a wrap for BK Matt, for the Queen Tay, for the voice of the generation, Pete Rosado. It is your boy, Big Baby, aka the Wise Brother, signing out. Peace.